What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I just spent the last 23 hours completing Doom: The Dark Ages, so let's talk about it. So real quick before we get into the review, let me just say this review is going to be coming from someone who is a Doom rookie, essentially. I have only played the original Doom on the Super Nintendo, but it's been a very long time since I played that. I played a little bit of Doom 3 back when it came out. That was, what, 20 years ago, something like that. And then I played a few levels of Doom Eternal. Don't ask me why I never finished Doom Eternal or Doom 3 or any of the other ones. I don't know. I just never got around to them. But I liked Doom Eternal, the few levels that I played, but I just never finished it. I got sidetracked with another game and then another game and then another game and just never came back to it. And that's the way it goes. But Doom: The Dark Ages looked really good, so I wanted to play it for the channel and complete it and give my thoughts on it. So that's what we're going to do. So like I said, just kind of bear that in mind with while you're listening to what I have to say. I don't really have anything to compare the Dark Ages, to like with regard to the previous Doom entries. So if I say that I really like something from Doom: The Dark Ages and you hate it because, they added it in the Dark Ages or they removed it from the Dark Ages that it was in the previous Doom entries, that's just kind of where I'm coming from. I don't know the previous entries that well. So anyway, let's get into it. First, let's do a real quick summary of the story of the Dark Ages. So again, coming from somebody that didn't really play any of the previous entries, I just kind of have to go off what I could do a quick search for. Basically, the Dark Ages takes place in between Doom 64 and Doom 2016, the Doom reboot. It bridges the gap between those two games. So at the end of Doom 64, from my understanding, the Doom guy stayed in hell, or like trapped himself in hell, or was trapped in hell to continue to fight demons. And then all of a sudden in Doom 2016, he awakens as the Doom Slayer to continue fighting demons or whatever. I don't really know what happened in that game, but there's a big gap in between those two games. So that's where the Dark Ages fits in. So in the Dark Ages, he is in the world of Argent D'Nur, which gets attacked by the legions of hell, or the demons of hell, and they're being led by Prince Azrak. So the whole game you're trying to go fight these demons and kill Prince Azrak. Of course, there's a whole lot that happens along the way. This is a pretty long game, especially if you do everything and try to find everything along the way. But as always, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so that's as much of the story that we're going to talk about. So first, as always, let's talk about the positives, what I liked about this game. So first off, the graphics are great. This game looks really, really good. It runs smoothly. It's very dark and evil looking. The enemies look great. They're very detailed, and the game is very graphic. It's very bloody. It's gory. It's violent. It's everything you would want from a Doom game. They did apparently take out glory kills, which we're going to talk about later. I put that in my negatives, even though, again, I haven't played too many of the Doom games. I did enough research to kind of know that those should have been left in. So we'll talk about those later. But other than that, the game looks great. It plays great. It's a lot of fun to play. And speaking of fun to play, the combat in this game, which is of course what Doom games are about, killing demons, as graphically and violently as possible. The combat is great. It's a lot of fun. They did add a parry system, which again, from my understanding, is not in the previous Doom games. I like parry systems. I know that is probably pretty controversial. If this is completely new to Doom games, I would imagine that a lot of Doom players are not going to like that addition, but I like parries. So I think it was kind of fun. You have a shield and you can block certain enemy attacks. If they shoot green, like usually they shoot like red or whatever, but if they shoot green or their attack is green, you can parry that, and it'll stun them, or it'll activate some sort of upgrade on your weapon or something like that. And I thought that was kind of fun. Also, to go along with the combat are the guns. Of course, that is what it's all about. And the guns are a good time. There's a lot of them. I think there's 11 in total, and they all kind of do their own thing. Of course, some of them are better for close range, like the super shotgun, and then you have others that are just powerful as hell, like the rocket launcher or the BFC. And so I guess it's the big fucking crossbow that you get later on in the game. Honestly, all the weapons are fun to experiment with, and see what you can do, see, different ways to kill enemies. And of course, you can upgrade all of your weapons. You find gold and ruby and later on wraith stones in the game to upgrade your weapons and get more abilities for them. Once you upgrade any weapon completely, you unlock the mastery for that weapon, which is essentially like a list of something that you have to do for that weapon, like cause 250 collateral damage or something like that, or 1,000 explosive damage or shock damage or something with this different gun. With these masteries, I did kind of figure out pretty quickly that if you wait till you get to a shielded enemy, so not an enemy that's holding a shield, but there's a lot of boss battles or mini boss battles or whatever, and the boss will be shielded, so they're invincible until you kill a lot of other demons. But you can spam, whatever, like if you need shock damage or explosive damage or whatever to finish your mastery for whatever weapon you're working on at the time, you can just fire away at them and do whatever you need to do, and they'll never die. And so you can just spam that ability and unlock that mastery. And you can do that over and over and over. As long as you can stay alive, you can do that. So I figured out pretty early that was a very quick way to unlock all the masteries, which of course is connected to probably the hardest achievement. I feel like the hardest achievement in the game, which is doing all the mastery for all of the fully upgraded weapons. Next thing that I liked about the game are the levels. I kind of already mentioned it a little bit with the collectibles, the gold and the rubies and wraith stones and all that. But there's lots of stuff to find. These levels are pretty big. There's 22 chapters, and each one, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, they take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to finish, depending on how much you want to find. Like if you're not trying to find all the collectibles and do everything and explore everything, then you could just run through these levels quickly. But if you're exploring and you're trying to find everything, then you're looking at, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour per level. And there are a couple levels that took over that. I think maybe it was chapter 20, something like that. It was towards the end of the game that took about an hour and a half. So I mean, there are some pretty beefy levels in the game, but it's a lot of fun. It never felt like a chore finding all the collectibles. You have gold, of course, to upgrade your weapons, and then the rubies and the wraith stones. I've already mentioned those a couple times. But then you have like little toys, which are just action figures of characters and enemies from the game. And then you have codex pages, which offer lore explanations, which I should have read those. Thinking about that now, I should have went back and read those after I found them all to get a little more clarification on the story. I didn't do that, but it was still cool to try to find all of those. So that was a lot of fun, finding all the collectibles on the map and just exploring everything and just kind of taking my time and really trying to experience all the levels. Another thing I'll mention about the levels is the variety in levels. So most of them are run and gun. You're basically running from point to point, killing waves of enemies and then finding collectibles and unlocking doors and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But it's also nice when they change it up, and on this level you're flying a dragon and you're destroying these like airships and then landing the dragon and hopping off and then exploring the ship, or whatever your next objective is. And that's a lot of fun to kind of have that switch up. And then there's some other levels where you are in these big war machines that I think are called Atlands, and those are really cool, and you basically do like hand-to-hand combat with other huge demons. So that's a lot of fun. It offers a little bit of variety, so it's not just running from point A to point B, killing waves of enemies, unlock a door, flip a switch, find some gold, run to the next. It changes it up a little bit and it keeps it interesting. And then one last thing I'll say about the positive is kind of a cool thing that you can do is you can adjust the difficulty. So you obviously have different difficulty settings. I played on Hurt Me Plenty, which is either, I don't know if it was the equivalent of like normal or hard. I'm not sure. But there was like Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare and all that. And I'm not a fucking masochist, so I didn't play on that. I just wanted to play normal or standard, whatever. But even within those difficulties, you can get into the settings and adjust them further. So you can change the speed of the game. I think you can crank it up to like 150% or something like that. You can change the amount of damage that you do. You can change the amount of damage that the enemies do. You can change how aggressive they are and a couple of other things. So it's kind of cool that they let you, choose your difficulty that you want to play, but also customize that difficulty, even further. So that was kind of a nice little addition. I didn't really do that, but it was cool. Like, if somebody wants to just crank up the difficulty, to the max just to see if they can fucking do it. It's kind of cool that they let you do that. All right, moving on to the negatives. The first thing I want to talk about was kind of a big one for me. It's the music. So the music in Doom has always been known to be fucking heavy and just metal and evil and just awesome. Just loud as shit. Like, while you're killing demons, you've got Mick Gordon's fucking soundtrack in the background, and it just fits and it sounds so good. This one was a bit of a letdown because, for one, it was too damn quiet. And I don't think it hit me until chapter 3 or 4 or something. Like, hey, dummy, get into the settings and crank the music up and turn the sound effects in the game down. And so I did that, and that fixed it. It seemed to fix it. Like, it sounded a lot better immediately, but there were still large sections of the game where even doing that, and no matter how much I adjusted it, the music was just, it felt like it was kind of muffled, like in the background. Like, it wasn't just like in your face, like, what I have heard from the previous Doom games. And even though I haven't played a lot of the Doom games, I love metal. I've been playing guitar. You see the guitars in the background there. I've been playing guitar for over 20 years, and I play mostly metal. I love metal. And so I have heard the other, soundtracks from the other Doom games, and they're fucking awesome. They're heavy as shit, and just they match the tone of the game. And not to say this music didn't, it did. I mean, it was heavy, but it was more like orchestral and epic and stuff, because it kind of fit that vibe of like medieval, dark ages, that kind of thing. But it just felt like it was kind of stuffed in the background, like background noise. And it just didn't hit as hard. And even when I could clearly hear the music, it still didn't have that same feel that like Mick Gordon did. I don't know if I mentioned it yet, that Mick Gordon didn't do the music for the Dark Ages. It was done by some studio called Finishing Mood. I'm not saying the music was bad. I'm just saying it didn't feel right. There was something off about it. And from what I understand, what I looked up was that there was some controversy with Mick Gordon. Apparently he didn't get paid like his full salary, or even like half of his salary or something like that, for the work that he did on Doom Eternal. So I guess he's not doing music for them anymore. So that really sucks. That they screwed him over. But anyway, enough ranting about the music. Let's move on. Another thing to do with the sound, though, were some audio issues. And I don't know if it was my computer. I doubt it. I doubt it was my computer, because, I can pretty much play any game. And it only happens sometimes. So there's really bad crackling that just would randomly pop up, and it would stay there for like the whole session that I was playing. So if I, fired it up and played for an hour or two, that whole hour or two was, and it wasn't that loud. It wasn't that loud and obnoxious, but I could hear it. The first time I heard it, I was playing a level and there was some fire. So I thought it was the fire crackling, but then I got away from it and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. That's not it. And it was the game crackling. Like I said, it just depended on what it wanted to do at the time. The next time I played the game, it wouldn't do it. Then the next time after that, it would do it. Sometimes it would start, randomly halfway through my playthrough, and I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was just me. I kind of doubt it, because I can play any other game just fine. And other than that, the game played great. Like, I never dropped any frames or had any issues or anything like that. Like, visually, just the audio crackled quite a bit. So when it did that was really annoying. But that was something I guess I kind of just learned to live with as I was playing the game. Another minor complaint that I have, and thankfully there weren't many of these sections, but the swimming was kind of wonky. There are some like tunnels you have to swim through at certain parts, and then other parts you have to swim through like a large body of water and through some shipwrecks or something like that. Thankfully, like I said, it wasn't a whole lot of that, but it felt really sloppy. I remember swimming to the surface. It was such a hard time. Like, you swim to the surface, you kind of come up, and then he kind of goes back down, and then he goes back up. He comes like Bob, and there was no way to just like skim the surface. Like, just stay at the surface until you get to the platform that you're trying to climb to. Like, I always had to do it where like I kind of look up and see the platform I'm trying to go to and then go and then press jump to get up like right as I surface. And again, it's a minor complaint, and it's quite possible that I'm just stupid and I didn't know how to properly do this, and there's a certain way to do it. There's a button you press or something to where he'll kind of stay at the surface and not do all this shit here. I couldn't figure it out, and so thankfully, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of swimming sections in the game, but there were enough that when it happened, I was like, okay, God damn it, here we go again. But you know, most people hate water levels anyway, so you just got to deal with it and move on. And then the next negative I have are about the glory kills, which I think I already mentioned in my positives, talking about the combat and all that stuff. So they took out the glory kills, pretty much took out the glory kills in the Dark Ages. Now, again, I've already said a couple times, I don't really have much of a personal reference to glory kills from previous games because I barely played them. But knowing that they took the glory kills out in this one, I wanted to go back and see, you know, kind of what the fuss was about. And yeah, glory kills are a must. They're fucking brutal and just gory and violent, and they look awesome. And the fact that they took them out in this, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, there are sort of glory kills, I guess you could call them, like on some of the boss battles at the end when the enemy's highlighted purple, you can go and execute them. So you go up and you know, I played on the keyboard, so you go up and you press E, and then he'll reach in the enemy's chest and rip their heart out. And every time he does that, it's actually called a demonic essence, and it's like an upgrade, like an armor upgrade or a health upgrade or something like that. But that's pretty much it. You can do the executions on pretty much all of the normal enemies, but he just swings whatever melee weapon you're using at the time and they just kind of explode or shatter or whatever. There is a way to kind of force a glory kill. So if they're highlighted and you jump and you press the execution button, he'll kind of like stomp them to the ground and then stomp on their face and, you know, explode their head. I got him a couple times to take his shield and cut their head off, like slice their neck or something. And those look cool. But then I go back and, you know, watch the glory kills from the previous Doom games, and I'm like, fuck, why didn't we do that? Like those look crazy. I feel like if I would have played all the previous Doom games, I'd make a big deal about that. And the last negative I want to talk about, I saved the best for last or the worst for last, whatever, however you want to look at it. It's the most annoying fucking thing in any game. So I wouldn't call myself necessarily a completionist because I don't do every single thing. Like, for example, in this one, you have all the achievements, but then you have, you know, go back and beat the game on Ultra Nightmare. And it's like an in-game achievement, and you get a skin, you know, a new skin for Doomslayer. I don't consider myself necessarily a completionist because I'm not going to do that. However, I do go after all the achievements and trophies. I am a trophy whore. So I did go after all the achievements in this game. And it's so fucking irritating when a trophy glitches. When you do what you need to do for the trophy and it doesn't fucking pop. It's so irritating. It's beyond frustrating. This is what happened in mine. So, and it's a known glitch, apparently. So you can upgrade all your weapons using gold and rubies and wraith stones and all that stuff. And there's an achievement called Berserker. I believe it's called Berserker. And once you fully upgrade all your weapons, you get that achievement. Simple enough. I did it. No problem. The achievement didn't pop. And you know what the most frustrating thing is? You go into the in-game achievements and it shows it right there. It says Berserker completed. But now my gamer score for the Dark Ages says 950 out of 1,000 instead of 1,000 out of 1,000. And it's always going to fucking say that until they patch the goddamn game. And it's so irritating. It's so irritating because I look at that and I'm like, I fucking did that. I did it. And you have to do it because I also got the, what's it called? The gunpletionist. I think it's called the gunpletionist achievement, which is what you get when you unlock the mastery or complete the mastery for all of the weapons. You can only do that if you upgrade all the weapons. So it's like, how the fuck does this game not know that I upgraded all the weapons? How is it not triggering that when I mastered all the weapons? If you don't care about achievements or trophies or completion, 100% completion or whatever, then you're not going to give a fuck about that. And I completely understand that. This is a me thing. This is in my head. And I know a lot of other people too are completionists too. But if you are not, you're watching this and you don't care about achievements or trophies, you're going to be like, shut the fuck up, dude, and move on. But it bugs the shit out of me and I can't help it. So that's the last negative for Doom. There's not a whole lot. These were very nitpicky things. So overall, I will say that Doom, The Dark Ages was a fantastic time. I had a blast with this game. I loved it. Again, this coming from someone who is essentially a Doom rookie. Take it for what it's worth, but I thought this was a blast to play. It was a lot of fun to complete, almost complete. I didn't do like the ultra nightmare playthrough, but I'm not going to do that because I have no desire to do that. But I got all the achievements except that one motherfucker that didn't pop. But I had a lot of fun finding all the collectibles and upgrading the weapons and doing the mastery and just exploring the maps, just exploring all the levels. There was a lot to do. There's plenty to do, and it never got boring. It never felt like a chore. It was just action, killing demons the whole time, and it was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I checked it out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you think of Doom, The Dark Ages down in the comments below, and I will see y'all for the next video. All right, bye.